Orion, thank you so much for joining us. I am absolutely thrilled to welcome back one of our partners that Orion communicates with and utilizes regularly, Yvette Kwan. She is a well-respected dietitian and nutrition expert. She's board certified specialist in sports dietetics, as well as a certified therapist for food sensitivity testing and treatment. I know she's inspired me and many of you last year. She was one of our partners last year in April as well. So if you want to circle back to that podcast, she was amazing. She talked about spices and inflammation and all of those things that we put into our bodies that can actually help and hurt us. So Yvette, as a fellow mother like myself, you know what it's like to juggle work and family, and we're rolling into the summer season. So welcome, Yvette. How are you? So great to see you again.
I'm doing great. Thank you for your patience while I figured out our tech little issue, but I'm excited
no worries.
to be here and talk to everyone, and talking on this topic of rebooting before the summer, because a lot of times people want to figure out a quick way to lose weight and feel good. And I love the word reboot because it's a more positive spin on it all. And it just by using words like that instead of weight loss, we're already empowering our mind and body to make positive shifts forward. So that's where today's focus is going to be on.
Absolutely. Yvette, did you want to share your screen, or what would you prefer?
I do have a pretty presentation I put together. Let's try and share my screen. Yes.
All right. So Yvette, as we are working on that, one of the things that I was really thinking about as the summertime comes is kind of lifestyle medicine as well. It's like, I think a lot of the time we're talking about, nutrition, as you mentioned, losing quick weight and all of those things. But the reality is, I think this is a semi-new term that you're probably going to touch on. But lifestyle medicine is something that is starting to come up in my world a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. And lifestyle medicine is really the things we practice. It's kind of in a way, it's a spin on the things we've been talking about. Nutrition, health, wellness experts have been preaching for years. Lifestyle medicine is eating the right foods. It's getting sleep. It's practicing the physical activity components that include not only cardiovascular, but your strengthening ones, your stretching, your mind relaxation, stress management. All of that is going to be lifestyle medicine, getting enough sleep. And for your summer reboot, it's all really important because we have to be able to take care of ourselves. And if you are out of balance, pushing ourselves too hard, whether it's too restrictive in a diet, to pushing yourself too hard in the gym, not getting enough energy, your body's going to crash and either get injured, you'll have adrenal fatigue or some type of hormonal imbalance, food cravings. When we go in with the approach of lifestyle medicine, we're thinking, what lifestyle practices am I going to take on a daily recommendation, on a daily basis, just like I do if I have to take my vitamins, supplements, or medications? What things am I going to practice regularly to keep myself healthy and strong? And Tara, I think
Sure.
I'm just going to talk. We're not going to share because there's too many things I have to click with GoToWebinar.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, the conversation is just as great. So I love it. Sorry to prompt you with that lifestyle medicine, but again, it was one of those terms that's starting to come up in the world, and thought maybe it was a great place to start rather than those fad diets are really crashing to fit into the bikini come this summer.
Absolutely. And I love using that word just as using the term rebooting. I love everyone listening today thinking, what lifestyle medicine practices am I going to take with me as I go into the summer? What things have I maybe fallen out of? I know that it's the end of the school year for a lot of people if you have children, and so it can be fatigue, stress, and maybe some of the things you practiced before you're not doing. Maybe your lifestyle medicine, maybe you need to go back in and readdress that. So think about it as that. How are you going to get your daily dose of vitamin D? Get out, get some sunshine. Movement, of course, your fruits and vegetables. And so I'll go through a few things, and all of these actually fall right in line with that lifestyle medicine.
Oh, good. Let's do it.
Okay, so today's theme is going to be practical tips to eat well and feel great in your skin. And I like to focus on practical, and sometimes we say, well, I've heard this stuff. If you think you've heard this, I want you to really ask yourself, one, am I practicing it? Two, have I overcomplicated it? All too often, we overcomplicate the simple things to practice that can help us feel good and see changes and the results we're looking for. It really does not have to be that complicated, but we as humans love to overcomplicate things, and the marketing world loves to sell us complicated or fancy packaged things. And so today I hope you hear and are able to take away and implement things that are simple but impactful things. So I'll start where you are. Use what you can't have and do what you can. So there's no reason, no matter what's going on, there's not something you can't take away from today to practice and implement to make yourself feel better, perform better, and thrive in your day-to-day life by implementing and changing one or two things in the way that you're feeding, whether it's your mind, your body, or the way you're moving or taking care of other people. For me, the taking care of other people is a big part of rebooting. Sometimes and when I'm working one-on-one with clients, that's a big piece of my practice. Is not only do we have to take care of ourselves, but how are we giving back and serving others? Because when we get self-absorbed, then it's almost like it gets too more complicated. So think about, what am I feeding my mind? How am I taking care of my body? And how am I taking care of those around me? So our reboot tip number one is absolutely something everyone's heard, and I'm gonna start with it because it is so important. Drink more water. So the number one way, if you're feeling sluggish, if you're feeling drained, if you're having having a lot of cravings, you're off balance, start increasing your water intake today. Being adequately hydrated is going to help. It optimizes all the functions going on in your body. It helps with brain clarity. It also helps eliminate toxins from your body. It helps your body process and eliminate things out of your system. It helps your body metabolize food. So make sure you're drinking enough water. Being dehydrated can actually slow down your metabolism. Being dehydrated, you'll also feel sluggish. You can have an increase in sugar cravings and brain fog. So drink more water. First thing. The goal is to drink at least 8 to 10 ounces of water a day, 8 to 10 ounce glasses of water a day. There's a trend, and it's been for years, drinking hot lemon water in the morning. That's a great way, one, to get more water in, and it can help jumpstart your body system, kind of wake it up. So if you want to do that, it acts as a natural diuretic. Just take a hot cup of water and squeeze a little bit of lemon juice in it, and it will help. Have it before your coffee. It will help as a natural diuretic. When we say drink more water, water is our preferred source, but we can also drink clear, caffeine-free, no sugar beverages. So green tea is a great way to get more liquids in. Herbal caffeine-free teas. You can also do sparkling water. You can make your own flavored waters. Those are all great ways to get more water in, getting more fluids in you. Now, we want to drink more of the clear, caffeine-free, no sugar drinks, and drink less, especially if we're feeling this, like, I want to reboot. I want to feel better for the summer. I want to feel good moving forward. I need to clean some things up. Drink less or omit totally the alcohol. All forms, alcohol is going to your body's first form that it's going to go to metabolize and process before it goes to your fat and your energy, other energy stores. So cut out the alcohol for a little bit. All soda, juices, lemonades, all of those things add added empty calories, sugar, and they're not going to help you with that reboots there. So any questions there?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. You brought up in the morning. This is something that I really put in place. I've gone through a lot of different, trainings and certifications, and it's been so interesting, no matter if we're talking about stress or sleep or nutrition. One theme that I get in all of these, the number one suggestion is to drink a big glass of water first thing in the morning, really before you do anything else. And I've implemented it, and I've seen a night and day difference, not only with how my food cravings happen, my digestion, all of those things. So again, I've implemented that for myself, and again, I'm not doing the lemon, which would be even better, but again, it's been an amazing change for myself, with that suggestion that you had. So give it a try, everyone, if you're
Yeah, and
looking
I
for
know
something
it's
very,
like a
very simple.
broken record there, but it's one I think we all need
Yeah.
constant reminders of. My 15-year-old in the middle of finals, and yesterday I saw her, it's her freshman year, and I was like, you need to drink more water because she's exhausted. But
Yeah.
you get dehydrated and your brain doesn't think as well. So when you're working at a desk and you're at the computer and you're feeling sluggish, see what that water does. I bet you any money you will notice you have a boost in mental clarity and energy by just drinking a big old glass of water.
No question. Yvette, is there any problem in drinking too much water, maybe before a meal or any of those things? I mean, do we need to be
There
aware of anything there?
absolutely, there can be for athletes who, if you're working a lot outside, you can almost go into hyponatremia, which is like drinking too much water to where your body doesn't have enough of the sodium in it. So you can do too much, but it is a little rare. The best way to monitor your hydration status is through your urine. So if you have a pale yellow, that's what you're going for. If you drink too much, your body's going to tell you. Now, when you're
Hmm.
asking about before a meal, drinking too much, before a meal, that is going to reduce the amount that you eat. And so I guess it depends on what your goals are. If you're using it as a way to completely not eat, in my practice, I do work with eating disorders and people who are struggling to just get in, eat. If you're using it for that reason, it can't replace food. But in the same sense, if you are in a habit of just eating larger portions, drinking more water can help fill you up. Does that make
That's
sense?
great. It does. Yeah. I mean, and I think I often, when I'm feeling hungry and I know there's really no reason I should be grabbing a bag of chips or something, again, I always turn to water. You throw in a strawberry, throw in some raspberries, something to kind of trick myself, is a strategy that I often use exactly along those lines. So love it. Water is something that is amazing, and I'm sure we'll circle back to it as well. To keep us reminded of that. So we're ready for your next tip.
Next tip is focus on more plants. So if you can shift your mindset to think of how can I eat more from the ground up, getting more plants in my diet. So that would be your fruits, your vegetables. It's also your beans, legumes, avocados. And I'm going to go over this in more detail in a bit on another tip, but thinking how can I eat more plants, plant-based foods? How can I eat more from the ground up, not from the box down? So take that, post that on your computer as a reminder. Eat from the ground up, not from the box down. As you are implementing this tip, action tip is to keep a journal and actually reflect on, as I'm eating more plants, do I have more energy? Am I sleeping better? Am I noticing a decrease in my cravings? Because often we eat the processed foods, the foods that are packaged. The more we eat, it's almost the more you crave them. When you start increasing those plant-based foods, more fruits, vegetables, beans, whole grains, those cravings again decrease. Are you noticing a difference in your skin and your clothes fitting? So that's a good thing for you to journal as you're going through all of these things. That reflection, that self-reflection, keeps it front of mind of what am I working towards? Am I noticing the differences? What am I seeing, feeling on a daily basis?
Yes, and very rarely do we stop to actually think about that. We're always in the hustle and bustle of life and things that are happening. So I think that is so important to sit down and stop and reflect. And are you feeling well or are you not feeling well? So what's happening there? So that is a great reminder, whether we're talking about nutrition, water, or just every day, how are we doing?
And that's going to, as you think about your reboot, when you realize you're noticing these other parts of your life are improving, it gets easier. That becomes your why of why am I eating more greens and nuts and beans, and why do I like oatmeal in the morning, or maybe oatmeal as a dessert? Because I'm noticing a difference in all of these other factors. So I've rebooted, my body's changing, but also I'm noticing a change in these other parts of my life, my energy, my mental clarity, my cravings. And that is more empowering and motivating for a long-term, long sustaining time.
Yes, and I think, with your journaling as well, when we give into some of those cravings, time and we're, mixing up margaritas, or maybe we're having a big frozen treat of some sort, how are you feeling after you have something that maybe you gave into that maybe it wasn't a wise choice? And I think it's important to kind of see the flip side of that as well.
Absolutely. And so when we talk about eating less from the box down, less packaged food, one thing I want to bring up is also the package, and there's a big craze of like the keto cookies and cereals and all of those things. And even protein bars, eating less of those, all of those things, they're not filling you up as much. So pay attention, especially if you're thinking, I want to reboot. I want to feel better in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Less of those packaged processed foods, including your go-to nutrition bars.
Yeah.
If you're having it every day, reduce to 3 times a week. If you can just start reducing that, that would be huge.
Yes, all those tips that you're saying, I think it's one of those where we need to be realistic as well. As you said, just not throwing our whole world upside down. It's going to turn upside down again in the summertime anyway. So I think that's an amazing, thing to
Yes.
jot down as you're taking notes throughout this to start small.
And think, how can I do less of? What can I have less here? Reboot tip number 3 is on that line of plan and prep for success. All too often we think, okay, I'm going to do it. I know I'm excited. I feel motivated, but then life happens and things get in the way. So carve out time. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your goals, to your energy, to your own reboot of how are you going to implement so far the things we've talked about, which how are you going to implement more water? How are you going to implement more produce, more plants? This is going to take time. You spend the time, invest in yourself, prepare vegetables, fruits, meals in advance. You don't have to overcomplicate it, but you do need to spend time to prepare for your success. Because when life gets busy, you are going to go to what's quick and easy. And so if you have those things on hand, you'll go for them. But if not, you're going to fall back into old patterns.
Exactly. Yep. And it's all about forming habits, right? And you're kind of
And
giving a little bit of those, tips away, which is so great.
and with that, you plan when you're going to have leftovers. Plan, I'm going to go eat out to eat. Fit that into your schedule, but make enough and plan that you have enough for there. And with all of it, with all the planning from someone who loves to plan and has to come back into this all the time, don't overthink yourself things. So keep it simple. Stop comparing yourself to others. You don't know what your neighbor, your coworker, what their situation is. Do what you can do today and focus on one step at a time. So plan for your success, but also be realistic and remember, what am I able to control and what am I able to do and accomplish today with my life, with my time, with my resources, with my availability, and let me make that happen. So be very intentional with that step, and that's going to be so important for your reboot. Because if you don't, if you're setting unrealistic expectations of yourself, you get frustrated. Then we get discouraged. And then by the time that goal of when you wanted to feel better comes, it's gonna be that cycle of always feeling discouraged from setting those expectations that don't fit with your life. Make sure to do that.
Exactly. I think the planning is so, so important. Every single tip you're talking about, if you're not planning, they're not going to be things that are going to happen, whether it be, just having a water bottle available, eating from the ground up. If you're not planning ahead, those things likely won't happen. And the leftovers, this is one where I live on leftovers, and I now have a 6-year-old son who dies for the leftovers just like I do. So I'm feeling like I'm not getting as many anymore. But again, we do leftovers every single Sunday, to just kind of reboot, as you've mentioned, reboot the week, clean everything out, and kind of start fresh. So we do leftover Sundays almost every Sunday night.
Nice. Tip number 4 would be to make sure your meals, so we talked about eating more plants, but we want to make sure our meals are balanced. So when I talk about balance, have a balance of carbohydrate, a complex carbohydrate, have protein. That protein is going to help keep you satisfied, keep you satiated, and have some fats. Having all 3 of those for your reboot is going to be so important. So thinking, I'm going to eat more from the ground up, so more foods that are in their whole form, but I'm going to have those meals that are more balanced. So hard-boiled egg and nuts and seeds. You could do a sweet potato hash with an egg on top, or that's something that we love for breakfast and dinner. That's a nice balance of, you put sweet potatoes and veggies and coconut oil, cook it all up, and you can have that make a big old batch. Serve it with eggs or chicken, but you're getting the mix of complex carbohydrates, protein, and fat. You want to get some protein from fish, chicken, you can get eggs, tofu, plant-based sources, but getting that protein in is going to be important for that satiation, meaning it helps you feel satisfied, as well as the fiber and the fats.
Yes, I think that staying full longer is something that we all are trying to remember, rather than those quick fix high fat, staying full for longer, as well as making sure that we're,
That's
staying hydrated. Exactly.
one of the biggest mistakes I see when people attempt their reboots. It's eating too little in the daytime. So not getting in enough of that balanced meals, not getting satiated, and then being starving at night and just eating whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. People that go on diets too, kind of the ins and outs of diets. The same thing happens too, as you're so hungry that you're unable to control and eat mindfully. All these things that you're talking about, I think there's no question.
And you're going to feel so much more empowered and clearer when you notice, when I eat a balanced meal, suddenly my cravings are less. When I'm not eating in balance, I have more cravings. And that's where, back to that journaling piece, when you're writing about it and you're reflecting on it, you're able to see, this is working for me, this is not.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think to focus on those feelings. How am I feeling? How am I doing mentally, physically, all of those things. So never ever forget that when you're journaling.
And then reboot tip number 5 is a daily sweat session. So participate in exercise that gets your heart pumping. Not only is it good for burning calories and getting you in a detoxing, but also it boosts your mood and decreases stress. So one of the best things you can do is intervals, to where short amount of time, but you're going high intensity, and changing up your heart rate can be one of the most impactful, especially if you're thinking, I want to reboot. Do intervals 3 or 4 days in the week, and then do some yoga, stretching, strength training on the other days, and you will really see a difference in the way you look and feel and perform.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of the times we're talking about finding those things that you love to do. The last thing we want is, exercise to be a torture session and painful. So again, finding something that will boost your mood along with, breaking a sweat. Hopefully everyone can find something that they love to do now that the weather's getting nicer and hopefully not too hot quite yet.
Put on some good music and get yourself moving. And then the final thing would be to make sure you're getting enough sleep. Because if you are sleep deprived, your body is going to hold on to fat. You're going to have an increase in cravings. Hormones are going to be off balance, cranky, moody. Pushing yourself to go further and harder and skimp on that sleep is not doing you any justice or serving you at all. So definitely make sure you're getting enough sleep. And it varies from everyone, so just make that sleep a priority.
Absolutely. I am very much a sleep nerd. For those of you that listen to this podcast regularly, I'm a certified sleep science coach. So don't get me started. I'll have my own podcast episode about that for sure. But again, sleep is so important for all of these lifestyle medicine components that you're mentioning. So to circle back to my very first question, you've hit them all on the head, Yvette. So thank you.
Yes, awesome. Well, are there any other questions?
Yvette, yeah, so one of the things that I always love for our presenters to do, because you've given us so many great tips and tricks from journaling and water and more vegetables and making sure we're staying full longer. How do people get hold of you? Obviously, I know because we partner with you every month with our newsletter and those things, but if people are looking to ask more questions after the fact as it starts to resonate with them, how can they get hold of you?
So you can email me at yvette@yvettequantz.com. I am working on updating my website, so it's not ready right now, but yvettequantz.com website will be up and live, and I'll have some great blog posts and inspirational things coming. And you can follow me on social media at yvettequantzrd on Instagram and Facebook.
So great. Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who asked questions today and contributed to our conversation. Just as a precursor, Yvette talked a lot about habits. And this is actually the direction that we're going next month as well for our podcast. We're inviting some of our health coaches to come back for our Dear Coach episode, where they're going to be talking about building successful habits. So building upon everything that we talked about today and meeting people where they are so they can be successful this summer and throughout, the end of the year into the new year. So
the more
join us then.
Listen, the more we can practice it. So
exactly. Yep. And meeting everyone where they are. I know there's some things that I'm going to get out of today and, little pat on my back that I'm drinking water every morning. So thanks for confirming that. And Yvette, thank you so much for your time today. I always appreciate visiting with you and your expertise that's brought to our podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great day.
You too.